Good afternoon, I'm Ben from Skoog, and I would like to teach the world to Skoog. What is Skoog? Skoog, very briefly, is this, which is an entirely new kind of musical instrument created for education, okay? So we're a small company from Edinburgh, and we started 5 years ago, and we're 5 years down the line, and we've done some things, and we've learned some stuff, and I'm here to try and share some of that with you in terms of, particularly in reference to how we've built up an international network of sales and support and that kind of thing. So just very briefly, so Skoog is a tactile musical instrument that was created specifically for children with special needs. And what we did, as opposed to creating a disabled instrument, as it were, we made just one that was easy to use. And so it actually has applications in lots of different kind of environments with autistic kids, not just those with physical disabilities. And also, with it being music, it has a real potential for kind of international growth because, you know, music is cross-cultural in that sense, and everyone is supportive of it, particularly in education. And so, where we are now, so Skoog, these are lovingly crafted by one of our Skoogists in Plasticine. That's Map here. We've got Skoogs in Australia, in New Zealand, Russia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Europe, all over the place, the States. And it's taken a while to build up. And it's been an interesting thing because this is our team. We are genuinely a small company. There's 4 of us. Okay, so it's David and myself are the founders, and then we have a developer and Maggie who sort of does everything else. Okay, and so with such a small team, how do you access a sales network internationally? How do you get your product out there? Because that's the thing, so you have your idea, and we've been working on it for about 12 years. You get to your product, and then so you get to your product, and you go to the trade show, and you have your booth. And you're there with your product, and so what's next? It's like, what's the next step? And, we launched a bet in 2010, and we pitched up, and we had a little stand, and we had all this stuff, and we're like, hey, everyone, look at this. And for us, it's a particularly difficult thing, because we invented something that doesn't exist. So yes, it's a new musical instrument, but it's an entirely new approach to doing music, and to doing music with kids with disabilities. Nothing like it ever existed before. Now there's a few different people in the marketplace doing some things, and it was created specifically to fill a gap. So it was kind of lucky in a way, but we couldn't just ring up the local disability music instrument specialist and say, would you like to stock our product? It doesn't exist as a channel. And so it's really became a process of building a community. And it's a difficult thing to do, but in terms of things that we've learned, the thing that you have to do, particularly if you have a product, you need to be passionate about it, and you have to get it out there, and you have to make yourself available to the end user. Now, as a small company, that's really difficult, and particularly internationally, that becomes more complex because, there's time zone issues and all this kind of stuff. But you have to put yourself out there. You can't, although so here at Bet and places like that, you'll meet distributors, you'll meet resellers, they'll put it in their catalog, and that's fine. But you have to engage the end user, and you have to drive that desire for the product from the trenches, as it were. And so there has to be something in your kind of budget and your commitment to put yourself and put physically yourself out there. People, products are great, but they need the story. They need to understand where it's come from, particularly if it's innovative and particularly if it's new. So in terms of building our community, we did a range of different things in terms of engaging with people. But, one thing that is key, Bet, we're here 5 years down the line. We come every year. And for us, it is a really important show. It's the biggest in the world, and it does have international people here. And you do get the opportunity to meet people that you wouldn't be able to sort of contact online, and they will come and find you. So that's important. You have to go to the shows, but you have to be able to put yourself out there. Now, that is problematic, particularly when you're small, but what there exists now, it wasn't so much when we started 5 years ago, but there's so many things now online, particularly for small businesses, that allow you to connect with your end user and really cherish them, support them and get them excited about the product and generate that demand. So things like MailChimp, in terms of contact via email, databasing. One thing that's been really important for us is the use of cloud-based kind of CRM software, so to be able to track user experiences, but something like Capsule, which is something you can access from everywhere. I can get it to it on my phone, so I can be in the States and I can get an inquiry, a support inquiry, and I can immediately route it through, get the right stuff, and just hit it all from my mobile. I don't have to dial up Salesforce or have some complicated database. There's a lot of these new really easy cloud solutions for small computers, so that's great. And the other really big thing for us, I think that's been particularly important, is video, and particularly Google Hang. So Hangouts on Google has been really transformative for us in being able to spend time with end users, spend time with potential customers, provide training for resellers, and I'll talk a bit more about the kind of reseller-distributor thing and relationship, which is an odd one. But in terms of generating this demand, getting the product out there, or getting the knowledge of the product, being able to reach out to people physically or visually, in real time is really the way to go. And there was various webcasting things that were available, but Google Hang is just, I can't recommend it enough. It's great, and it's really interactive. It's accessible to everyone. You don't need extra software. The smaller companies that you're interacting with, or the schools, they don't need to pay. And the other fantastic thing is that it immediately gets recorded to YouTube, and it goes up there, and it's there as a resource. And obviously, if you don't have a great session, you can delete it, But if you have a particularly good one, and people are, you make some ground with some people, then it's up there, and you can refer people to it. And so you start to build this kind of portfolio of online resources. So there's loads of tools for doing that, and I think they've definitely evolved in the kind of 5 years that we've been going, and it's a much better place now to be as a small business, I would say. Really exciting to be able to access things, so easily and so quickly, and be able to contact and reach out to resellers and suppliers. This is one of our distributors in Australia, actually. It's come on support. It's fantastic. We met them at BET, and then we've continued that journey. So you come to the trade shows, you meet the resellers, and say, that's great, let's give it a go, and let's do that. But then you have to find a way of supporting them at arm's length. And it's about being responsive and providing, materials and learning from them. And where we are, the journey that we've been on, we started off being very much, end user focused, as I've said, to drive the uptake of the product, and also working specifically with resellers. And a reseller is, someone who's directly in contact with the schools or the education departments. They're hands-on. They're usually a smaller company, and they're going out and they're dealing individually with schools or educators. And then, the distributors are the bigger people. And you have to, as a small business, you have to drive the market. So it's all very well saying, oh, we've got this reseller, he's put it in his catalog. Where are the sales? And unless you promote the product, unless you get out there, unless you call the schools, and then you may say, well, why don't we just sell directly? And there's an argument for that, and there's support for that. But it's a little bit, sidestep, my background is a very odd one. My family's from the circus, and they're also antique dealers, okay? And the thing with dealing antiquities and art is it's all about having the clients, okay? You can have a really expensive piece of Chippendale furniture, but if you don't have the right person to sell it to, you'll never get the money for it. And the people, they have this client list in that art world, and it's the client list that's important, not necessarily the piece of art itself. And in this kind of selling to schools and education people, it's a kind of a similar thing. The resellers and the people that are out there who have the relationships with the schools, so you can email them, call them, you can do that. But they won't, a lot of them won't actually buy from you because they want to buy from someone they trust. They want to buy from someone they have a relationship. And if you're trying to build an international sales kind of network and you're in Scotland, which is where we are, that's not going to work in Australia. You can't be there all the time. You don't have those relationships. So you have to try and engage with resellers and support them and help them drive the sales. You can't expect them to list a product and suddenly it just happen, okay? So, that's one thing that we learn. And as we've kind of grown, there's always been this weird thing that I constantly wrestle with. And that's in reference to customers and resellers. And so customers, you want to make it as available as possible, and you want the price to be as affordable as possible so that everyone buys your product and you're a global sensation and you can afford new shoes, okay? That's what you want. And then your resellers, they need to eat as well, and, they've got kids that, they need to get their teeth done and all that kind of stuff. And for them, it's about margin. And also, if they're going to put the effort into your product, then this idea of exclusivity is one that we constantly sort of battle with, sort of emotionally, in terms of working with resellers, is that, you know, if they're going to put the effort in, you know, they're like, well, if I'm going to put this effort in and promote it, what's to stop them then going buying from some other guy who's just got it in his catalog? I'd like to be exclusive. And the exclusive thing is really difficult. And I couldn't give you a call one way or the other. We've never really pursued exclusive relationships. But what we do is when we are approached by resellers, we have resellers, you know, in the first few years, we had loads of people, because we have this kind of, you know, we've got this exciting, innovative product, and I'll show you a little video at the end. It's very cool, okay? And everyone goes, oh, that's awesome, that'd be great. And then they put it in the catalog, and it doesn't do anything. And it's very easy to see the guys that are actually working and actually going out there and contacting people. You can see it, you know, and you can track it now via your kind of analytics. And so we tend to try and identify, you know, so you often kind of speak to resellers now, and then they say, yeah, we'll take your product. And then very quickly you can identify the people to work with. And whilst we don't offer exclusivity, we will work closely with a reseller. And if they work well, you know, we are currently not seeking another Australian reseller, because we have one, we have a good relationship, works very well. And until such time as it, you know, all goes south, or north, or whatever, which way you want to put it, that's fine, you know, and as the business grows. But for the smaller, I mean, one of the things as well in reference to the margin thing, that's been a difficult thing, because individual resellers, that's fine, and you know, you have to give a margin, you have to make it worth someone's while to sell, you know, to actually go out there and take your product and sell it over someone else's. But that obviously affects, you know, the end user price. And we've had problems in the past, and that's something you have to look out for. Sometimes you have a reseller, and they maybe have a catalog that gets bought out, and then people buy from that catalog, and not just end users, we have a lot of, in the first couple of years, a lot of people in Europe were listing our product on their website in Holland or in Italy, and they were like, I mean, the end user price then was £500. It's now sort of 370 or something. And they were listing it at like £2,000. Because they were buying it retail, and then they were putting a markup on it, and then they were trying to sell it on. And it really, it's quite damaging, because people are going, yeah, I've heard about your product, but I'm not paying £2,000 for it. I mean, it's okay, but it's not really worth that. And so that, you have to kind of keep an eye on these kind of things and really kind of try and manage that relationship, so that there's something in it for both of you. And that really is a partnership. And the stage that we're at now, where are we going? Oh, just a little note before I finish that. So another thing I mentioned earlier about competitors in the market, when we started, we were kind of the only thing that does kind of the thing that we do. And since then, we've seen other people come in. And it's, you know, we're a product company. We've invented our product. We love it. We're passionate about it. We live it. We breathe it. And so, you know, when other things come on the market, you can be like, oh, it will get you, or whatever. And it's a really good thing. Particularly in this space, as I talked about earlier, this is a new area, like, you know, accessible music technology, or helping students who physically can't use instruments to make music or be creative is a kind of new thing. And yes, whilst it's great to be the only one in there, the more people that are in the space, the more people will know about it, the more you can do marketing around it, and it spreads and it grows. And I view competitors, like, so Beams is in our space, and I view it very much more as complementary, because they do different things. And whilst you're in the same space, you know, unless someone totally rips off your product, which no one has done for us yet, or whatever, you're going to have your own kind of unique bits, and have your crossover. And you have to focus on those two things. You know, promote your kind of uniqueness, but use the crossover to show people that, you know, they can use these things together. And particularly in education, there is no one size fits all. And that's, I mean, look at this. This is like a massive show with, I don't know how many thousands of products here, but, you know, there's a lot of different things out there for different approaches, different abilities, and it's about kind of finding your slot in that. But also, competitors can help you. You know, they can be complementary. They can support you in your marketing just by being there in the space. And, you know, it's important not to be defensive, I would say, because when we started, we were very defensive. We were scared of everyone taking our stuff and all that kind of thing. But now it's, whenever you see something new, or new apps that are helping people do music and stuff like that, it's great, and we love it.
What is a Skoog? Inside us all is a musician waiting to get out. Trouble is, instruments can be tricky. Maybe you haven't found the right one. Meet the Skoog, the inclusive instrument for everyone. Tap it, shake it, Squeeze it. Stroke it. Give it a little twist. It's easy. Plug it into the Skoog software and play. Rock out to your favourite tunes or use programs like GarageBand to open up a world of amazing music and sounds. Master the masters or just go bananas. Skoog. Free the musician inside.